So in a recent community post, I said that my biggest performing video, it's now got over 300,000 views, was recorded in a random Airbnb using my iPhone as the microphone. So I thought I'd run with that theme again today and see if it holds up, that you don't need the expensive camera and expensive gear to make a YouTube video that gets views. Let's see how many views this video gets. I'm recording it just on my iPhone 13, nothing else. No jump cuts, let's do it. So the theme of today's video is going to be ego. Now, I recently got a comment from someone saying, look, a lot of people associate your personality on YouTube with having a big ego, but I'm not so sure if you've got a big ego or whether you're just really confident in what you believe in. Now, I think that's a really good distinction, and I'll leave it up to you in the comments to answer whether you think I just have a massive ego or whether you think I'm just confident in what I'm believing in and what I'm saying on my videos. Because I think there is a big distinction between the two, whereas ego to me means that someone is arrogant, egotistical, big-headed, they're full of themselves, they're maybe a diva or something like this, and they just think that they're right and everyone else is wrong just because they think that they're amazing or something like this. Not because they're necessarily in possession of the truth, but because they just love themselves or something like that. Whereas if someone's confident with something, let's consider, for example, a mathematician, and he knows that 2 + 2 is 4, and someone has been listening to a lot of Radiohead and they come up to him and say, well, no, 2 + 2 = 5. And the mathematician's like, you're wrong. And it's not like the mathematician is egotistical there or arrogant or something because he's telling the other person he's wrong. Let's say there's a whole group of Radiohead fans that come up to him and try and troll him by saying that 2 + 2 = 5. Just because there's more people than him saying that he's wrong, it doesn't actually make it so. It doesn't mean that he's wrong because a bunch of people are telling him that he is wrong. In fact, 2 + 2 equals 4 and not 5, and if 10,000 people disagree with the mathematician, 10,000 people are wrong, and the one mathematician is still correct. And so that is an example of just confidence. The mathematician is confident because he knows that he is in possession of the facts. And I was thinking about this recently. I was like, are there any other actual real examples that are less abstract and thought experiment-like, which shows that the majority are somehow just wrong? Yes, one of my favorite things is probably the most annoying thing, that when I see this on TV, it actually gets me physically annoyed, that people say all of the time, even academic people, even politicians will come on the TV and say, yes, that's really interesting, blah, blah, blah. So that begs the question, that blah, blah, blah. Like they're trying to say that it requires further investigation or something, we need to understand it more, so it begs the question, blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't. If you understand anything about formal logic, you understand that 99% of the time that people use the term, this begs the question, it actually doesn't. No, it doesn't question beg at all, because question begging is a technical term in formal logic, and it means that you're assuming the conclusion in one of the premises or something like this. It's kind of like circular reasoning, that kind of thing. You can look it up on Wikipedia. If you put in question begging, you'll find it. And so when someone says this begs the question, almost all of the time, no, it doesn't. So many people use that terminology, this begs the question, and so many people are wrong. And that's the thing. Just because lots of people are wrong, it doesn't mean that the person pointing that out is actually wrong or egotistical or arrogant or full of himself or whatever, just to point out a fact, because there's only one correct answer when there is a yes or no kind of right or wrong thing. There's the fact, and there's things that people might believe to be the fact but actually isn't true. And the only thing that actually is relevant and matters is the thing which is true, because truth matters. I know a lot of people think that they are living their own personal truth and they're on their own journey of truth or whatever kind of nonsense they want to come up with. But no, there is only one set of facts, and that's called the truth. And without having a philosophical conversation on what is the meaning of truth or blah, 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 I'm not interested in that for this video, let's keep it simple. There is only one thing which is true, and that is the truth. So there's another example which came to my mind recently, and I was thinking about this, and I was like, it's an even more extreme example of that begging the question thing. It's like begging the question, but hyped up to the most ridiculous, absurd level you can think of. Because recently Microsoft came out and said that they find the language C++ unsafe. We could talk about memory management, manual memory management, all that kind of geeky programming stuff, but we're not going to because I want to keep it simple in this video and to the point. But Microsoft, long story short, without talking about nerdy stuff, they came out and said the language C++, which all of your DAWs are programmed in, your audio plugins are programmed in, Photoshop is programmed in, your operating system is probably programmed in, like whether you're on Linux, Mac or Windows, most of your software is probably programmed in C or C++. So Windows recently came out and like, look, we're switching to Rust because this stuff is unsafe. All of our security vulnerabilities, saying like, I think it was either 70% or 90% of their security vulnerabilities were caused because of manual memory management in C++. So it was like, this is unsafe. Well, there's one guy who thinks that all of the rockstar programmers, the high-paid elite programmers who work at Microsoft, there's one guy who thinks they're all wrong. And it's not only Microsoft, it's other companies as well. I can't remember all of the companies off the top of my head, but it's like all of the big ones like Microsoft and Google and Netflix and Amazon and all of the big companies that you know about, with all of the biggest talent of all of the most rock star, highest paid programmers in the world. All of those programmers, according to one guy, are wrong. And who is this one guy who's saying that all of these people are wrong? The inventor of C++. And not only does this guy not only did he invent the language, he not only has a degree, a doctor's degree, he's got honorary doctor's degree, he's got fellowships, he's got over 100 academic publications. He's won multiple high prestigious awards, and he's the most competent voice in the world when it comes to C++. And he's saying that these thousands of programmers, they're all wrong. And you know what? He is correct. They are all wrong. They're all just doing it wrong. And the thing is, it's a completely different conversation to say that, okay, well, doing it the right way is hard. I know that doing it the right way is hard a lot of the time, but it doesn't change the fact that all of these thousands of programmers are all doing it wrong. So it's like this one guy versus all of these thousands of rockstar programmers. And it goes further than that. It's like all of the universities are teaching it wrong. All of the authors writing all of the books are teaching it wrong. Everyone's doing it wrong. But the truth is, they are all just doing it wrong. And that's the truth. That's the fact. And without getting into the geeky conversations about why that is the case, it suffices to say that thousands of people are doing it wrong, and one guy is shouting from the rooftops saying, you're all doing it wrong. And it's not that he's egotistical. In fact, he's an extremely humble guy. You can watch interviews of him. Björn Strastrup, his name is, probably not pronounced that correctly, but he's a humble guy. There's nothing egotistical about it at all. He's just simply pointing out everyone is doing it wrong. And again, doing it the right way is hard. That's a separate conversation. But it doesn't change the fact that the majority, because the majority just say something, or the majority believe something, or assert that X is the case, it doesn't necessarily mean that X is the case. And just because one person is disagreeing with all of these thousands, or even the majority of people, it doesn't mean that that one person isn't correct. Because there's only one thing which is correct, and that is the truth.